Hi everyone, Bart Erickson, University of Minnesota, Master Naturalist, volunteer, hanging out in one of my favorite spots. It's getting dark. I don't even know if my camera's going to capture this, but I have to be out here during this time of day. It is the sunset, and birds are starting to pile into this prairie pothole. And you can see the prairie pothole, how I identify them all the time is those things that are just ringed with cattails everywhere. Every kind of edge of it is covered. And they can be really dynamic areas for waterfowl and all sorts of bird species, on top of muskrats and beaver and all the invertebrates, the small little creatures that are in the water, lots of small fish. But these are bodies of water that oftentimes don't have a name. In the Northeast we got Lake Superior, right? And it's one of those kind of deep lakes, and it's got, if you think about the edge of Lake Superior, there's not a lot of weeds there. You see a lot of rock on the shoreline. You kind of get to that middle part of the state, that lake country area, you're going to have varying depths, varying degrees of like bulrushes and lily pads along the edge. But out here, it's cattail dominant all the time, and they're really hard to get to. There's not a lot of access to them. I have actually spent a lot of time in these cattail sloughs, these marshes, these prairie potholes. Come in a variety of different names, and depending on where you are in the state, you might hear different names for them. But the nice thing is that they're also usually on a map postage stamped with something called like a wildlife management area, waterfowl production area. So there is a way to find them, but you're not going to find the name of a body of water like this. So just know, look for those kind of green dots on a map that identify some public land, especially in western Minnesota. You're going to see that accompanied with oftentimes a big body of kind of marshy prairie pothole land. Now, some potholes are not there later in the season. They're just seasonal. So as the spring melt comes, they come alive, and they support all those birds and all those waterfowl and other animals that need that to kind of get started with spring. As fall comes, they drop their seeds. Everything goes dry over August, September, all winter staying dormant, and then as soon as that spring rush comes of water, all those seeds explode, and they get another seasonal pothole explosion that supports the wildlife in that area. Something like this is going to stay all year round. You might see some winter kill, which is basically a low oxygen level, where some of the wildlife that are submerged in the water might not make it, but that's part of the process here. And this has a lot of decomposition. Those cattails are thick, and it can basically create a whole bunch of decomposed material that settles in the lake, real loose stuff. It looks like, oftentimes these look like they're only about 2 feet deep, but if you put a pole through it, it's going to go down 10 feet deep. Pretty easy, 6 feet deep. And so you got to be, if you're exploring a prairie pothole, you have to kind of understand what you're seeing on the bottom when you see the weeds is not what you're getting, because there's a whole set of life happening way deep into this kind of mucky bottom that a lot of these have. Now, the further west you go and on into the Dakotas, you're going to get a firmer bottom. But in the kind of that middle transition zone that we see in like that Ashby area, Dalton, kind of between Fergus and Alex and out towards Morris, we get kind of a variety, and you can't really bet like you can walk in and kind of explore this like on the edge with waders or anything. You got to be really careful out here with this stuff. I wear a life jacket anytime I'm working along the edge of a prairie pothole, because they can get dicey really quick. So you can kind of your leg can kind of pop through the cattail bog, and oftentimes these cattail bogs are floating above like 2 feet of water too, and so they kind of move. You might even see part of this actually shift one day to a next because of the wind direction, and it kind of sits there and floats as the wind shifts. It moves a little bit, so they can be pretty dynamic that way in regards to what they look like. And you're like, is that the same pothole we came to the other day? Yes, it is, and it looks completely different because a huge chunk just kind of floated across and changed the whole look for you. Oh, I got some geese coming in. I hope you can hear them. One of my favorite sounds of fall. So that's enough about prairie potholes. Again, I hope you get a chance to get out there in this wonderful migration time of fall and enjoy yourself a prairie pothole when you get a chance. Take care. Have a great day. Happy Trail Tuesday.